Hey, welcome back to the TimeCatchApp channel where we talk about all things related to consulting, freelancing, contracting work. And today I want to talk about what information should be in your proposals. Now, this is most applicable to individuals who are consultants, who run a consulting organization, and some contracting. Now, what do I mean by a consulting organization? I'm talking about organizations who run project-based work. So a client comes to you and asks you to do a specific set of tasks. That's your specialty. And they expect results. They may ask you to evaluate a market condition, or they may ask you to write a website or something, but they're asking you for a specific type of task. And these are project-based work. For the most part, to succeed at project-based work, you're going to need to write a proposal. Most clients are going to ask for it, and most are going to expect it. That's the typical way it works. Not everyone does it. Some contractors, especially those are single contractors that contract out to companies, they tend not to go through a proposal process, but more of a job interview process. But if you're doing these project-based work, where most likely you are going to be doing proposals, getting good at it is really going to help your win rate and increase the amount of work you're going to get. Now, I have run consulting organizations, and I've written hundreds of proposals over my life. In my last role, for instance, I more than doubled the win rate for the project-based work over a 2-year period, following some of the principles that I've been talking about. And you can do that too if you follow the same principles and follow the same processes. Now, you're not going to get 100%. No one gets 100%, but you can increase your win rate. I mean, I took a win rate from 30% to 80%, which is really good. And that has a lot of advantages to it. You spend less time doing the proposals, finding new clients, and you spend more time actually doing the work because the win rate's higher, and that generates more revenue for you and more time available to do other things, like improving your skills or spending time with a family or doing other fun things. Okay. All right. So I want to talk today about what are the sections you should have in your proposal and talk about how you can get that in your own proposals as well. Now, at the end, I'm going to give you a bonus tip, but also at the end, I'm going to show you how to get your free proposal checklist. It's yours just for the asking. This is a 5-page checklist to go through everything that should be in your proposal. All right. Now, before we start, hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel to grow and allows us to provide more information, more content like this for you. All right, now let's get started. Let's get into the proposal. A proposal template here. This is the first 2 pages of it. Our proposal that we actually work on is around 7, 8 pages long, and then we fill it in with the actual content. So a typical proposal, even for a small proposal, maybe 8 to 10 pages for a small one. For a larger one, of course, it will be larger. All right. So what should you have in there? First off, I like to have an executive summary right off the top. What the ask is, was our understanding of the ask, and what are we going to do to satisfy that ask? What information is in there? All right. So let's talk about the solution we have and really focus not so much on the process in the executive summary, but what the benefits the client is going to get from this solution for using you to achieve the goals that they have. You really want to sell yourself. Why are you the right person for this particular task? How is it going to benefit the client? You think about that. They're not really interested in how nice you are, how great of a person you are. What they're interested in is what can you do for them. So really focus on that and put that in the executive summary right at the top. This is what we're going to do for you. This is how we're going to benefit you. Also in the executive summary, I like to have the contact information. They don't have to go looking for it. If you look at my proposal template, the contact information is right here on the very first page. It's even before the executive summary. Okay. Now, after that, I like to have the scope of work. So what is it that we're actually going to do? The type of deliverables, the specific outcomes. What are you doing? And put boundaries on it. One thing I found is that within consulting work, oftentimes the boundaries can be a little fuzzy, a little amorphous, and we don't want that because our clients will always step right through the fuzzy part and right into the out of scope section. And before you know it, you will be doing out of scope work because they asked for it and you can't stop them because it sure looks like the interpretation says that should be in scope. All right, so make sure that you have your scope very carefully delineated. I don't like to use vague words as what the edges are. I like to have numbers. We will do X something. When you get more complex by this measure, it's going to be higher price by this much and so forth. Make sure that your scope of work has very bright lines as to what the edges are so that there's no question about it. When they get to that point, you can have an easy discussion with the clients. Very, very helpful. Okay. Next is going to be what I like to call the methodology and quality section. All right. How are you going to produce the output? How are you going to ensure that it's high quality, right? Everybody wants high quality work. And what does that mean? How are we going to ensure that? Okay. Now, one of the problems with the methodology is that you don't want to put so much details in there that they can just hire someone to go through your details and just execute it, right? You want to have the information. You're the expert. You want them coming to you for your expertise. So you want to describe your methodology in such a way that it makes sense, but not so much that they can just go through like a recipe and do it. Or they think they can go through like a recipe and do it, which is, oftentimes is what actually happens. They think they can do it, they can't, and then things go wrong. But also, not so much that someone can take your work and give it to someone else, though. I have actually seen this. Well, my own experience. Someone came to me and asked for how to do some specific things. I wrote out the details of how we would do it. They actually took that information and rewrote it in a request for a proposal for someone else. Very, very annoying. Don't let them do that to you. Make it vague. If you're going to give the information to someone else, then someone else is going to have to write their own proposal as well, right? You got to protect yourself. It does happen. Not everyone's going to do that, but some people will. So protect yourself on your methodology, right? After that, I like to have a section on timelines. Everyone likes to know how much time it's going to take. And the timelines is whatever you had your discussion before the proposal, that should be reflected in your timelines. It's not a time to make up new timelines unless you haven't had that discussion before. Some aspects of it you may not have had, so you can put those timelines in as where they are. More detailed timelines, the better. At the very beginning of your study, what I like to do is at the very beginning, timeline number 0. Day 1, you want a kickoff meeting. That should be explained in your proposal. Small projects, large projects, doesn't matter. You want a kickoff meeting. Where the kickoff meeting, you're going to describe what your deliverables are going to be, the timelines, and what is in scope and what is out of scope, so everyone is on the same page. And if there's any questions about that, that's a great time to ask it. Just be aware that sometimes if you're dealing with a mid-sized company or larger, sometimes the person who signed off on the contract with you is not the person who's going to be your contact and working with you. And they may have very different ideas of what needs to be done. So it's very helpful to have that information right at the beginning of that, having that discussion day 1, so that everybody's on the same page. It just makes life so much easier if everyone agrees what you're trying to do, when you're trying to do it, and what is the expected outcomes. Next section I like to have is a budget. This doesn't have to be long, it can be fairly short. I like to typically have it as just a table. These are the invoiceable activities we're going to do. This is what each activity is going to cost us. And just lay it out there. Invoice schedule really should be as part of a boilerplate in your appendix. And if you keep it at that point, you're fine. I'll talk more in another video about what invoiceable activities are and how you can use them in your proposals. But I always like to have them laid out in my budget section. And if you're doing time and materials, I always like to have a cap in there. There's nothing that's going to scare off a potential client more than an uncapped time and materials budget, unless they're really, really rich and don't care. But most clients are going to ask for a cap. They have a budget of what this project is supposed to do. All right, so you want the cap in there. And if you run up to the cap, don't keep billing them. They're not going to accept it. But at that point, you can have a discussion about whether you should have extension of that or expand your proposal. I love expanding projects, having change orders that make it larger. I built my career on it. It works great. And you can do that too. And then finally, in the conclusion, I like to have a conclusion at the end of this. This is why I'm the right person to do this work. This is the benefits you're going to get from choosing me and doing this project. And here's the contact information. And don't forget, you want a timeline as to when they need to start the work with you. And you don't want this to just carry out forever. You want a timeline. Okay? All right. And if you want the complete proposal template for your proposals with all of the sections I just laid out and with some boilerplate, including it has boilerplate for your appendix, for the invoicing activities, when disputes arise, what will happen if you stop working or if you don't pay the bills. You want to have that all covered in your proposals as well. And the proposal template has all of that already written up in it. So to get that, sign up for a free account at TimeCatchApp.com and you will automatically get the proposal template. Now, to get your free checklist, got the checklist here, you can go to the TimeCatchApp.com's Contact Us page, which is here on the screen, and fill in the information. Enter your name, enter your email address, and in the details, just say free proposal checklist. If you do that, I will send you the checklist in your email, 5 pages of checklist with all the things to check off that you should have in your proposals. Some of them may not be applicable in some proposals, in which case you can always modify the checklist to be suitable for your specific needs. But, go ahead and get it. I'd rather have more to delete than not have what should be in there. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to talking with you in our next video.